Breaking news: the Israeli offensive into Gaza continues, with rockets being launched towards Tel Aviv. Friday saw more fierce ground combat in Khan Yunis, located in the southern Gaza Strip, where the Israeli Defense Forces have faced the most formidable resistance from Hamas so far. There have been 17,487 Palestinian casualties in the fighting, according to the Gaza Health Ministry, and 91 Israeli casualties, including 2 on Thursday, according to the Israel Defense Forces, who carried out strikes on more than 450 targets in Gaza. Meanwhile, rockets fired from Gaza were intercepted, resulting in shrapnel being observed around Tel Aviv. According to Yoav Gallant, the Israeli defense minister, Hamas is starting to break out in Gaza. As part of a Hanukkah candle-lighting ceremony with an armored corps and mixed-gender infantry unit, he spoke, praising women. There was an undeniable presence of powerful, visible, and accomplished women during the war. Since 1948, women have virtually been absent from combat roles in the Israel Defense Forces, IDF. After 75 years of massive fighting, this has never happened before, Gallant informed the soldiers. I am extremely impressed by the results. According to Al Jazeera, Israeli forces have ramped up their bombardment of the Gaza Strip and conducted raids in the occupied West Bank. Conflict was raging in Khan Yunis as well as Rafah in southern Gaza, where the attacks occurred, according to the Jerusalem Post. Hamas militants have regrouped and fortified their positions since the Israeli Defense Forces' initial invasion of Khan Yunis on Monday night. Launchers, mortar barrels, RPGs, explosives, and intelligence left by the local Hamas brigade were among the weapons discovered in the vicinity of a school in Khan Yunis. According to the IDF, Israeli forces attacked a home close to a hospital, killing dozens of people, according to the Palestinian Red Crescent. According to UN Aid Chief Martin Griffiths, talks are ongoing to open a second border crossing in Gaza and increase the delivery of humanitarian aid. He informed reporters in Geneva that the humanitarian operation in the southern Gaza Strip could no longer be referred to by that name. On Friday, the United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres joined the majority of the Security Council in calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. However, the U.S. has already signaled that it will oppose this move. Later that day, on Friday, it did exactly that by rejecting a United Nations resolution demanding an immediate end to the fighting. Supporters of the resolution included 13 nations. Britain did not participate. The Gaza conflict has claimed the lives of 101 United Nations personnel, making it the bloodiest conflict in the organization's history. As of November 13, we have been unable to find bread to nourish my children for the past 3 days. The 30-year-old mother of 4, including a diabetic, Fatima Mohammed, expressed her ongoing struggle to procure flour in order to bake bread for her children. Because I am unable to locate appropriate food for her, she is coerced into eating things that are off-limits to her. A lot of weight has been shed by her since the beginning of Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza. Fatima and her family have been forcibly displaced from their hometown, which is located east of Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. Over the weekend, she was compelled to flee once more as Israeli forces drew near Khan Yunis. She sought sanctuary in a school close to Rafah, after an attack by Hamas inside Israel on October 7 resulted in the deaths of 1,200 people and the kidnapping of another 240. Israel began its aerial bombardment of Gaza. More than 17,000 have been killed since Israel's military operations began, according to health officials in Hamas-run Gaza. Ground operations have recently moved south after starting in the north. Supporting this, there has been a blockade of Gaza, which has reduced the availability of fuel, food, water, and medicine. Thousands of people were warned to evacuate the area around Khan Yunis before the Israeli military bombed it. As a result, many people rushed south, putting a strain on the remaining supplies. The United Nations has issued a dire warning about the worsening hunger crisis in Gaza, saying that the civilian population is in danger of being overwhelmed due to the inadequate aid reaching the territory. There was insufficient aid to address the overwhelming needs, and 1.9 million people, or 85% of Gaza's population, had to be displaced, according to the UN Palestinian Refugee Agency, UNRWA. The shelters in the territory were 4 times full. World Food Program data shows that among Gaza's displaced population, over a third are experiencing severe levels of hunger. 9. Nearly 50% of Gazans are experiencing severe levels of hunger, with 90% going without food for at least 2 consecutive days.